In this lesson, we're going to talk about the coping tool, apply coping or remove coping, and it works with beams and columns as they intersect with each other. So I've just got I'm starting with just the default Imperial template file here. There only is, I think there's only one beam framing member loaded, wide flange W12 by 26. You could load more members if you want. So I'm just here on the level 1, and I've got level 2, default, and some grid lines. That's all I've done so far. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of framing here. So I'm going to start by going to the Structure tab, and I'm going to add in a column. I'm going to make sure I take my tagging off, and I'm going to pick this column. Oh, I do have a different column in there. That's okay. And I'm going to set it to height instead of depth because I'm on my level 1, and up to level 2. Okay, so up to level 2 from level 1 at grids. Click on here, hold my mouse in, click, let go. Places them in there temporarily, and I say finish, adds those columns in. Okay, if I go to, say, a south elevation now, and I turn my detail level to fine tune, I can see those guys up there. So now I can go to my level 2, which is underlaying my level 1 by default, and I can go back to my Structure tab and say beam, and I can pick my beam off of here, set my level, structural use is automatic, check my options in here, and I could turn 3D snapping on if I want to slope them later. I'm going to take tagging off and say on grids again, click and hold. It's going to look at the grids and the columns. It's going to pop those in, finish. Okay, escape, go to a 3D view, and there I've got some beams and columns in there. So up on my level 2 now, I'm going to pick on this guy and say create similar, add another one there across here. Oh, not a grid line. Pick the beam, create similar, and it's not giving me a center point there. Pick across there, escape, back to my 3D view. We can see that. Now I'm going to go do a little cross section inside of here. I think what we'll do is we'll tile some views. Let's go to my View tab here and say Close Hidden. And let's open up my second floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little section in here. I'm going to go to my Section tab, create a little section right there. And I don't want to see that far. I only want to go to about there. Okay, I'm going to open up that section. Okay, I'm going to turn the detail level up on that as well. Maybe SD for shaded mode. Okay, so there's my section of that. Now I'm going to say Close Hidden. I'm going to reopen my 3D view, and now I'll tile those two views. Okay, so there's my 3D view, and there's my section. So now when I go to do the coping, what I do is I go in here and I say Modify, and I say Cope. Okay, look what it says on my status bar. Select element to be coped. This guy. This one does the coping. Click. You can see what the result is over here. Okay, escape. Now that distance right there that you're seeing, if I click on here, okay, that distance there, if you look at here, there's properties. Start, extension, offset. Okay, that is the distance from this little guy. You're going to see that in a second, but there's also something in here called coping distance, 1 inch. That's going to be the space around as this moves around. Now watch this number here, start and end extension, as I pull this guy over. Okay, it's going to change this start extension. So you could numerically change this to whatever you want, or you can just drag it and use this. Okay, now if I take this beam that I have here and I move it up and down, okay, that's a different property inside of there. We want to go to Start Level Offset. Now watch, I'm going to drop the beam down by -4 inches on the start and the end. -4 inches. Now watch what happens to my beam. My beam goes down by -4 inches. Look, it's doing the coping. Okay, the 1 inch, that's this coping distance around here. Okay, the start and extension, that's this guy. When I pull on here, Okay, that's what controls this. So as this now goes up and down, if I change this to be the opposite, maybe I'm bumping it up by, 2.5 inches. Oops. 2.5 inches. Okay, and I'm going to take that, copy it to my clipboard, and put it in here. Control V. Boom. Okay, now my beam is moved up to be above that. This number here is the start and offset. The coping distance is still 1 inch. Watch what happens if I make this 0.5 inches. Okay, my coping gets smaller around here. In the meantime, we do have the opportunity to pull this guy back. So that's the start end extension. Okay, and the end is at the other end of the beam. We can't see that. This is the start, the first point I picked. So these two numbers represent this distance. This half-inch coping distance represents the distance around the flanges that it actually cuts. And these two guys are the actual vertical height of the beam. So at any point I can open this up, and if I want to remove it, all I have to do is go back here and simply say remove coping from here to there, and it's just going to not have them cope. So that's it. That's our coping tool, and that works the same with Revit architecture as well as Revit structure.